In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful, and may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon His last and beloved Messenger Muhammad, and may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon you all. The title of this presentation is Understanding Black Holes from the Guidance of the Quran, the last revelation of Allah God to people. Now, to introduce this presentation, we have a problem with understanding black holes. Now, in cosmology, people tried to understand these objects that, as you can see on the screen, that there are objects at the center of the galaxies. Now, what they know about these objects, that they have a huge gravitational field and that they can attract anything within their kind of vicinity. But till this day and age, till this date, there is no comprehensive understanding for these objects. So we have a problem in cosmology that the purpose for these objects and the function, it's not well understood. That's a fact. And all that we have are theories, conjecture, guesswork, based on some data collected from these objects. Now, what I will show in this presentation is that why don't we go to the Quran, to the book of the Creator who created everything. So if we want to learn anything, we need to go to Him and ask Him to teach us. And the knowledge of Allah God Almighty that He wants people to learn is all contained in this book, in the Quran. So I will show today, by pondering upon certain verses in the Quran, we can put forward a complete understanding for black holes, their function, what they are, and everything. So let's start. If we ponder upon the first verse, which is verse number 7 of chapter 51 of the Quran, which reads, "And the heaven containing weaved ropes." The verse once again, "And the heaven containing weaved ropes." So in this Quranic verse, Allah God Almighty is telling us that the heaven, and the heaven means the volume surrounding a central object. So you say, for example, the heaven of the earth is the volume we live in, which surrounds the nucleus or the earth itself. You say the heaven of the universe is the volume in which we have the galaxies, so it's the volume surrounding another object. So Allah is telling us that any heaven in His creation, whether the heaven of the earth, the heaven of the universe, the heaven of the atom, which is the volume surrounding the nucleus, all of these, they contain weaved ropes. So as you can see on the screen, these weaved ropes, there are 3 strings weaved together to form a rope. So Allah is telling us that in the heaven we have weaved ropes, and these are vibrating strings of energy. Now, if we ponder deeply upon this, what is the function of a rope? Why do you use a rope? Now, we use a rope to tie 2 things together, to produce an attraction force between 2 objects in order to stabilize that object. That is why we use a rope. Again, we use a rope to tie 2 objects together in order to stabilize them by producing an attractive force between the 2. So we learn from this that Allah God Almighty placed weaved ropes in the heaven, meaning that gravitational energy is the main force in the universe. Gravitational energy. And why Allah God Almighty placed these weaved ropes in the heaven? They produce stabilization, so that each object will move in the path that Allah Almighty ordained for that object. Keep this in mind, and let's proceed to another kind of verse. Allah states in the Quran in chapter 56, verses 75 and 76, the following: "So I swear by the location of the stars, and verily that is indeed a great oath, if you but know." So in these verses, Allah the Almighty swears by the location of the stars. And Allah is telling us that the location of the stars has paramount importance. So let's understand this. Let's say, for example, let's take the sun. The sun is a star. And so what's so important by its location? So if you ponder upon our solar system, we see that the sun is located at the center of the solar system, and we have planets that go around the sun. So the movement of the planets, it produces a centrifugal force, meaning a force trying to push the planet out of its orbit. So there must be an equal and opposite force pulling the planet toward the sun. So we learn from this that the sun must produce a gravitational field that attracts the planet towards it. So the balance of these forces, the centrifugal force and the gravitational force, will keep the planet in its orbit. So now we understand why Allah God Almighty is drawing our attention to the location of the stars, because any slight deviation in the location of the sun, all this kind of perfect balancing between the forces will be lost and the universe will collapse. So we understand now, firstly, that the location of the stars is very important because they produce the gravitational energy needed for the maintenance and the preserving the motion of the objects in the universe. So let's ponder upon even deeper in this. Now, how can the sun produce this huge gravitational field that can stabilize and maintain the movement and the rotation of the objects in its volume, in its heaven? Now, the sun, let's say it has a fuel kind of atoms, and there is kind of a reaction between these atoms. So basically the sun is like a furnace which kind of interacts, causes the atoms to interact with each other. Now, so here we are dealing on the basic forces, which are the forces that hold the atom, that hold the maintenance of the atom. And going back to the Quranic verse that any heaven contains weave drops, so we learn from this that the heavens of the atom should contain gravitational energy. So any reaction in the atom, it will release this gravitational energy which holds it together. So by burning these atoms, they release their gravitational energy, and these gravitational energy are composed on the basic level of weave drops, 3 strings weaved together. This is the basic unit of energy in the universe. So it releases it. So basically the sun, it's a gravity generator. It produces these vibrating strings, and they establish a link between the object and the sun, pulling the object towards the sun. Now, if you think about this even deeper, these vibrating strings, they vibrate at different frequencies, so they produce different colors. Now, the one that we see from the sun is the visible light. It's a certain kind of low energy light. If we go higher, with the frequency of these vibrations, we cannot see them anymore. Now, these high frequency while vibrating strings produced from the sun, they are the main kind of elements used in gravitational force, because they have the power to pull an object towards the sun. But light, it has this kind of certain attraction, but it's very weak. So we are looking at higher vibratory strings. So I hope now it's clear that the sun, we learn from the Quran, it produces gravitational energy as weaved strings. Their location is important because it produces a perfect balance between the centrifugal force and the gravitational attraction. So, how can all this help us in understanding what black holes are? Let's proceed. Also, we learn from the Quran, from chapter 36, verse 38, the following: "And the sun runs on its fixed course for a term. That is the decree of the Almighty, the All-Knowing." So in this Quranic verse, Allah is teaching us that not even the sun is stationary, the sun is moving. So the object that stabilizes the solar system is itself moving. So the logical conclusion from this, that we need another object which is stronger than another star stronger than our sun in order to stabilize the movement and to maintain the movement of the sun in its orbit. So the sun is going in an orbit, it's kind of moving as well. So we need a stronger star, a more powerful star in its center to maintain the movement of the sun without deviating from its path. It's a fixed path that Allah ordained for the sun. So this means that at the center of the galaxy we will have a far stronger sun, a far stronger star that will produce gravitational energy, these vibrating weaved strings, that will maintain the movement of the other systems containing planets and their sun or their kind of star. So I hope now it's clear how we gradually moved on to know what are black holes. So from the teachings of the Quran, the black hole is a very powerful star producing gravitational energy and producing vibrating strings that are vibrating at a very high frequency, so powerful that you cannot see them because they are vibrating at a very high frequency in order to produce a strong gravitational energy to maintain the movement of all the objects within the galaxy. So actually they are not holes. According to the Quran, these objects are not holes. They are a very kind of powerful sun, a very powerful star. And the reason they produce this much gravitational energy because they produced so much vibrating strings, very high frequency. Their number is so much. So that is that about black holes. So they are no longer a mystery. They are very powerful stars, simply as that. And their function is to maintain the movement and the balance within the galaxy. Like the sun maintains the movement and the balance within the solar system, the black hole does the same, but for the galaxy. That is the end of that story. So I hope, brothers and sisters, you realized the potency of the knowledge of Allah Almighty in the Quran. It's very potent, it's very kind of powerful, that by pondering upon just maybe 3 or 4 verses, you understand concepts in cosmology that people take years and years to start grasping. So again, brothers and sisters, Allah, God Almighty, wants the believer to be the teacher of others and not the one on the receiving end. And He gave you the means to do it, which is pondering upon the Quran. And to know more details about this topic, please visit my website at www.quran-miracle.com, and you can email me at zquran@yahoo.com, and may the peace and blessing of Allah be upon you all.